have Sheriff William Johnson with us. So, how long have you been sheriff?
I'm going on my 24th year as sheriff.
I was thinking, I don't know, for some reason when I was driving the other day, was because I was talking to the city manager in Conneaut yesterday, and he was talking about the jail in Conneaut, and that it's always full, and if you have like a 30-day sentence, you might be in the jail for 3 or 4 days and then taken out and then come back because of more serious crimes or whatever. And I remember the sheriff, when they put the city hall issue on the ballot in Conneaut, the sheriff at the time said, I don't know why any community would want to do their own jail because it's such a hassle. And I can't remember, was that you or was it your predecessor?
Well, I think that way only because of the requirements on the minimum standards and the requirements that you have to do that cost an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
For something that maybe houses either a minimal amount of people or a large amount of people. There's a lot of things in the jail you just simply don't control. You control certainly they have to follow rules and regulations, but you don't control if they get sick or if they need an operation. If the doctor says it, then your tax dollars, the people's tax dollars, along with the money that they give me in my budget, has to pay for that. So there are a lot of requirements.
Wow. So that's not like there's an insurance?
No, there's no insurance program, and that's where people, they're misled a little bit. A lot of the things that we are required to do in jail, even 3 meals a day, certain calories, if people are diabetics, or if they are on some kind of a diet prescribed by the doctor, we have to make sure that they get what they're supposed to and have them type of calories. All of that costs money, and there are things that we're required to give the inmates that most people not only don't know, and they might not even get it at home, but we're required to do it once they're incarcerated.
Jeez. So if somebody needs like medical care, just the average person, if they don't have insurance and they go to the emergency room, that piles up. You get billed 6 months later because, you cut your toe or something. It's
certainly that's correct. And if they need, if they have a major illness, they have, for example, I think it's been 2 years now that we had 2 people that had heart attacks in the jail, and they had to get life flighted. We pay for the life flight. We pay for the heart catheterization or whatever they need, and how long they're in ICU. It's tax dollars, but it's the amount of money that I get in my budget. And what I normally do for inmate medical is I average out what we normally spend in a year on an average of 5-6 years. And that's what I put in a line item. Unfortunately, if we have major disasters, we're required to pay that. So if I use all of that line item money, the commissioners are obligated to give me that particular money to pay that bill.
Wow. We'd like to think about that, but we brought the sheriff in a little early, and we have to go to our final break before 8 o'clock, and then we'll have more time before we do another one. So hold on, we'll be back. So we were talking about an incident in Licking County.
Right. It was a number of years ago, and these are some of the things that we hope that never happens.
Yeah.
But there was a 2 or 3 time person that was in for DUI, and he needed open heart surgery. Actually, needed a heart transplant, is what it boiled down to. So the sheriff, along with the judges, had worked together and put him on probation and a restriction so he could be released to get that taken care of.
And then the county wouldn't have to pay for it.
That's correct. But there were restrictions in probation. He couldn't drink. He had to go in. And so, well, he did drink and he drove. He got into an accident. And he didn't kill anybody, but there was an injury accident. He got put back into jail, and his heart was very bad. They had to transport him to the hospital because he was incarcerated. They did have open heart surgery on this individual. The bill was $300 and some thousand at that particular time. I believe he lived 30 or 60 days and he passed away, and the county along with the sheriff's budget, had to pay that bill regardless. It's just a requirement under the law.
Yeah.
Once you're incarcerated, there are certain things that we have to do. And we have a doctor in a jail and a nurse, and if the doctor says that they need this prescribed drug to either survive or to maintain, then we're required to pay for that.
If you have insurance, though?
The insurances are completely gone. There's no insurance that pays that particular bill.
So if I go to jail right now, most of my prescriptions are paid for. But if I go to jail, they won't.
We have to pay, right?
Wow.
And the doctor will analyze what prescription you're on, because there are people that will doctor shop, and they'll say, bring your prescriptions in. The doctor will analyze. Some will bring in 15 or 20 bottles of different prescribed drugs. Our doctor will look at them, because we're not doctors, and say, you only need this, you only need that. That's what we're required to give them. And we have to pay for that, that bill, regardless of what they need. If they're on kidney dialysis, another good example, we have to transport from the jail to dialysis, because we're not a hospital.
Right.
So we have to hold somebody over while they're there. They're on dialysis, we bring them back. And it's the taxpayers' dollars that pay for that at that particular time. Once he's out and has done his time, then if he gets insurance or Medicare or Medicaid or anything like that, then that takes charge.
Oh.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a real balancing act, because the entire budget, when I use my line on inmate medical, it's based on not only the previous year, but 5 years, what we average. If it's a good year and everything runs good, that's what we need. But if there's an emergency, like a heart attack, a life flight, we have to pay that, and we take care of that. Our last life flight, although they have to give us Medicare rates, our last life flight, the person that tried to break out of jail, that busted the bones, we had a life flight in. The bill originally came in at $53,000, just the life flight. We did call
buy a
back
house
to them.
for that.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. We did call back and said that by law you can only charge the rate at this, but that was still, I think, $5,000, just the life flight alone. Never mind the operations, the hospital stay, the ICU, all that.
Was that the recent incident?
That was
the one where he's suspected of killing his father?
No, this particular person was in fact, he's in prison now. He got shipped out. We had to take care of that, and then he got shipped out. Them things are what we call, you know what I mean, happenings that we really don't want to happen.
Right, but you don't have any control over it.
No. It's just some things that happen. I think the hardest part about running a sheriff's department, I've been there a long time, so I'm kind of used to it. The hardest thing is the unknowns, the things that pop up that you're required to take care of, and it's no different than we're very busy on criminal cases, murder cases,
yes.
a lot of serious cases. Well, there's subpoenas. So when you put in an average of what you spend in overtime, that's what you do. If you're extremely busy, and it seems like we get busier every year, that overtime rate's going to go up, because they're required to go once they're subpoenaed. I don't control that. The court says they're going to be there to testify, no matter how many they are, and they get paid a certain amount of money, a time and a half, and that's what we try to average as well. So it is a very complex budget. You don't do it in 15 minutes. I mean, you could spend weeks on it. And I'm in the process of doing it right now. What I can tell you, and I've argued this point for forever, the only full-time jail in the county, and we have the largest jurisdiction, 720 square miles with 27 townships. Here's what's really amazing about that. You cannot run a sheriff's department, no matter who you are, with either the same amount of money or less money from year to year. Cost of doing business goes up. It's 24/7. It never stops. What you try to do is try to keep focused on it, to keep it actually the lowest that you possibly can, and keep the people safe in the meantime.
So what did you do? Because in 28, was it? You were forced when they had all the cutbacks.
Yeah,
and you had like one patrolman on the road for the whole county.
Hopefully that would never happen again. Understand though that the law requires the sheriff to balance the budget, and it's the commissioners do not tell me how to spend the money they give me, but they're the ones that give me the money. So I have to work within what they give me, and there's a lot of functions that the sheriff has to do. The only full-time jail, the civil, you got to maintain the court. We do all the transports to and from prison, to and from jails. We serve all the subpoenas. We handle 27 townships, major cases. We have a huge evidence office. The bottom line is there's a lot of money, but there's a lot of divisions, and there are a lot of requirements.
And not all of it is high profile. You have to go out and, I don't know, like serve papers and divorces and that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, we take people's homes because it goes through the court, foreclosures, tax liens. We serve all them particular papers. Restraining orders, civil protection orders. We do all of that. It is a massive job. There's no question about it, and it's. I don't think in this day and age the way law enforcement has changed. I think everything you have to understand it. You gotta worry about yourself.
Right.
And we're in a lot of volatile situations because of the things that we have to do.
And you've already taken out papers for next year.
Yeah, mine were in June. I love my job. I know my job.
You must like a challenge.
Well, I got a great bunch of people that work there, and we're limited in numbers. I would certainly like to have more, as like Connie. Everybody wants more because we actually need more. But the ones that I have I would put them up against anybody. We got a great operation, and I go to work every day. I'm there from in the morning till quitting. It's a constant type of thing, but I still love it. I feel good. I think I'm healthy, and that's exactly the reason why I did it.
There's got to be a lot of cases and stuff that really would be kind of depressing. I'm thinking about the drug raid in Roaming Shores where they found the bones of the girl.
Oh yeah, and that's going to be a huge human trafficking case too. We work on that every single day. I guess if anybody asked me what I've learned the most about being the sheriff and being in there a long time, besides how to balance everything, and you got to tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. That's a tough part of it. But my answer to them is, what do you think? And I said, well, if now, today's day and age, if I go to work in an 8-hour day and I don't get a surprise, that's a surprise. So everything that comes through the door, you almost expect it. So when you get in this day and age, and you don't get many, where you don't have them kind of cases and things that you don't shake your head. But when it's kind of real quiet, you're looking over your shoulder. So it's kind of different.
What percentage of those surprises have drugs dealing with them somewhere along the line?
We probably, in 25,000 calls that we handle per year, actual calls throughout the county, I don't think I would exaggerate when saying 95% of them are drug related.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of drugs. It could be alcohol.
Right.
It could be marijuana, cocaine, meth. You name it, prescription drugs, OxyContin. It's usually circles around that. And there's only about 5% that do not. So.
Yeah, I'm used to go over and look at sheriff's reports. And first of all, it's kind of depressing. If you read too many of those, you think that mankind is just going down.
Here's what I will tell you, Bob, and this is true. I can tell anybody this. I've been there a long time. Law enforcement's not even close to being the same as when I walked in the door.
Which was another thing I was going to ask you about.
Absolutely, totally different. The job is totally different. The calls that we go to are so much more serious and volatile situations. But when I first walked in the office, even though I didn't know near what I know today, and you learn every day,
right?
I can tell you right now, it's not even close to being the same job.
So give me some examples there.
Well, I mean, first of all, the money's not the same. Requirements aren't the same. They keep putting more and more on you. Certainly, we do the CCWs and we do all of these things.
So what's CCW?
Carry concealed weapons.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of requirements they put on us, and as long as people meet them requirements, we're obligated to do that. I mean, we could talk about this marijuana law that they want to pass, which I'm against.
I haven't had anybody come in here yet that's for it.
Yeah, well, but I'm against it, and there's several reasons why I'm against it. I think it's a gateway drug. But the bottom line is, if it passes, just say it passes, that just creates another thing that we're going to have to do to monitor that could lead to more serious things. And it's really crazy because most places today are not only drug-free where you work, which is a drug, they're also, if you have a carry conceal license, you can't carry in that, and you've abided by the law.
Right.
So it's going to create certainly some extra work, and hopefully it doesn't pass. And there's a lot of reasons why I don't think it should, because I believe it's a gateway drug.
Well, the fact that, this can pass, but if you're an employer, you can still tell your employees you can't smoke marijuana, you can't have traces of it on you while you're at the job.
Right.
And how long does marijuana stay in your system?
Well, it stays in your system 30 days, but there's no breathalyzer for marijuana.
Right.
So if you work in a factory and say you used it 2 weeks ago, it's in your system. They're not going to be able to test. But if you go there and say you did use it, which is legal if it passes that you use it, there's a lot of things that happen. It affects your concentration. Your reaction time is not going to be the same.
So if you're
mine.
having some kind of heavy machinery or whatever.
You're right. If you're driving an automobile.
A school bus.
Anything. If you're in daycare. Your reaction time, your concentration time, there's a lot of your balance. And I'm not saying even people that abuse it. It's a drug. How many times do you get a prescription drug from a doctor and they will tell you it could cause dizziness, sleepiness, drowsiness, don't use it running heavy machinery and stuff like that. Well, here we go.
Right.
If you do that and you have marijuana in your system, in my opinion, and I'm certainly not a doctor, your reaction to that is going to be different for all people, but you're not going to have the same reaction as I'm going to.
So if most employees don't want them having marijuana in them, then really the only people that could smoke this stuff would be the unemployed.
Well, or
legally.
Well, put it to you this way, even before they're unemployed, how about if there's 15 jobs open up at a really good place that pays really good money, and they do a drug screen? You're not going to get by the drug screen.
No.
Period. And of course that happens right now anyway. It's really hard to find people that are going to get by a drug screen. I'm not saying everybody's using, but
well, they have these conferences.
The people that are going in there to taking these exams and getting tested, a lot of them aren't passing it because of that.
They do. They have these conferences in the county. I remember going to one at Spire, where then they were talking about employers talking about that they have jobs going wanting because of the drug screening.
Yeah. It was really funny. Years ago, I got to tell you this is kind of funny. It's a funny story, but when Conneaut Prison opened up, myself and the chief, which was Howard Shetler at the time, was on the board that when they were interviewing people. And this is a true story. And there were people that I saw come in that we deal with, okay, that were in line. Some of the people might have got clean and didn't use it.
Are these as employers? Or employees?
Right. To say, yeah, they're going to get by and they're good people. And I was just on a board just analyzing. But there were also people in line that when they saw me and him, they turned around and left. It was kind of comical because they not only were using it, they were probably still using it, and they were afraid that we would say something about it. But we were on the board to say good, bad, and then they were tested later. But there was quite a few people that turned around.
If they hadn't been using, they probably would have gone up to you and said, "Hey, I've been clean for
that's true
6 months or a year."
I've had people tell me that that have gone through our system, even when I was a deputy, that there are people that will come to you and thank you for turning their life around. That's really rewarding. Even if one or two people tell you that, it's kind of rewarding if you help them and then they turn their life around. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. But I'm also just thinking about when looking at police reports, we're talking about drugs, it's just like thefts and everything else. I remember reading a report about a snowmobile, somebody's snowmobile, they broke into a garage or an outbuilding and took a snowmobile, and the woman says, I think it was my daughter and her boyfriend because they're on meth and they needed, and that's what it was.
Today that's who we look at first. You know, I'm a firm believer, I'm not saying I'm 100% on this, but I'm a firm believer that when your house gets broken into, it's my belief the first thing we look at is who was in your house last.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Who come to visit you. And even if it's your family and they brought somebody, and it's not your family that did it, but people are kind of scoping it out. Hey, you know, this and that. Wow, I see this, I see that. That's what we look for in the start of investigation, unless we got some other clues that people steer us to. I'm not a believer that a perpetrator drives down the road, any road, and says, I'm going to hit that house, because they don't want to get caught.
Yeah.
So they usually know what's there, and if they don't know what's there, they've already checked you out when you leave, when you come home, who's there, what the car looks like, and if it's an area where they think they can get away. Nobody wants to get caught if they're breaking in your house. So, you know, that's how you really do or start an investigation, by looking at it that way. I'm not saying that it couldn't be, and there are families that they get in drugs and they go in their grandmothers or their grandpas or mom and dads and stuff and steal some stuff that is easy to fence, that they get some money for them, and sometimes they won't realize it's missing until quite a ways down the road. That happens.
And we were talking about the marijuana issue some, and we were just talking off air about, and I've mentioned this before, that it almost sounds illegal that the people that put up the big bucks to get it on the ballot, that are paying, and we had a news thing today about how much money is being spent to get this thing passed, and those people that are putting up that money just happen to be the people that would then be authorized to sell the marijuana wholesale to whoever wants to buy it.
That's correct. And if you look at, in Ohio, the 9 targeted locations that are there, them people put up $2 million a piece. That's $18 million for all this advertisement. And it's not legal and they can't do it yet.
Right.
So what is that telling me? That's telling me that there's big money in it for them, and they're not too concerned about anything other. Nobody put up $2 million to get it to pass, in my opinion. That's the way people need to analyze it. The ads are ads,
right,
and people can be misled, but make no mistake about it, if there are 9 targeted areas that would be legal if it passed, they're going to make major money. And even though there's only 9 that are legal to do it, how about everybody else that's going to go above the 4 plants?
Is there a way to tell?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you're allowed to, if it passes, if you're allowed to grow 4 plants, and you're for recreational purposes, and you smoke marijuana, don't tell me that when you smoke all them 4 plants that you want to stop. In my opinion, they're going to try to get more from some other place. And they're just going to keep going. I just think it's going to create an awful lot of problems if it passes. But I will say, if it passes and becomes law, then we deal with it on the other end. It's just going to create more work.
So what kind of work does that require from your end?
Well, I mean, if it's if their house gets broken into, or something, we investigate, they got more than 4 plants, then they're charged. So, and if they're have marijuana in their system and it leads to other drugs, the marijuana is kind of off to the side, but we have to have probable cause to get the other stuff. So it depends. There'll be a lot of issues that we'll have to deal with if and when the law would pass.
When I first looked at this, I was looking at the 9 areas that would be legitimately growing this stuff for selling. And I was noticing like Cuyahoga County isn't in there. It isn't like evenly distributed around the state
Right.
for the most convenience. It just happens to be that's where those 9 people that put up the money come from.
And to be honest with you, if you look at their ads, they're trying to convince the people because everything is changing in the world that look at the tax dollars you would be missing. It's not even about the tax. They're not telling you that they're going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Never mind what it's going to create on the outside. I mean, if you're allowed to smoke and it's legal, and say you've got children and you go to daycare, you take your kids to daycare. You're allowed to bring your kids to daycare and you're on marijuana. I mean, there's so many things that create an issue that could come up and bite you. And I think maybe they ought to take a really good look at Colorado because they have problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They might have passed it, but they have problems.
Yeah.
I remember when they said in the lottery all this money was going to go to the schools and to the county. Well, I don't know where it's going because everybody's pretty much bankrupt.
Well, we had
struggling to make it.
We had Commissioner Dan Claypool on Wednesday, and he's a former police officer, and he was talking about the gambling and how much money the counties are supposed to get for that. And he says they're not getting anywhere near what there was for that.
What they said, yeah. And of course, people have to, in that particular case, they have to go there to gamble. I mean, people are going to play the lottery because everyone has that 1 in a billion chance they could be a multi-millionaire. So they'll throw their 5s and their 1s and their $10 to buy tickets, even the instant tickets. But so much money. If you take a person that wins the Powerball and wins $390 million, and then when they take the lump sum, they only get 120 of that. Where does that rest of that money go? I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where's it going? That's a lot of money.
Your chances of being murdered are better than they are getting hitting that. So.
Oh yeah. It's like anything else. When you were in school, when I was in high school, what did they tell you? There's 2 things that you're gonna have to do in life: die and pay taxes.
That's right.
And that's true.
Yeah.
Really, no matter how far back that goes, it's kind of a true statement.
Yeah.
I guess you have to move with society. If you don't move with the changes in society, you get run over. And it's getting tougher and tougher for people. But we live in a different world today, and I don't think there's such a thing as it'll never happen to me. If you have that kind of attitude, you're in trouble. Because it might not, but there's a chance it could.
Right.
No matter what you say, it could happen.
I was also thinking about some of the cases you've handled, and I believe they were involving drugs. So it's like the man, and he was older, who I think it was in Austinburg, murdered the woman in her home, and they traced it through he stole a television and some things.
Oh yes, that was.
I mean, that kind of stuff you didn't hear that.
Well, and that, believe me when I tell you, this is what I'm proud of at the Sheriff's Department. We got a great bunch of guys, and we work together as a team. But we've had some really tough homicide cases that we've resolved. The One-Eyed Jack case, the Sanborn Road, I think a Martin Chuck lady, the elderly lady, that one that you're talking about. The double homicide in Harper's Field on Bishop Road, that was a dead end.
Oh, the execution style.
You're right. I mean, and them cases are, they're already finished. These people are in prison. We've had some major and tough cases.
Well, the Martin Chuck, that took like 9 months?
It took a little bit over a year, I think, before it got done. And I'm going to tell you something. What solved that case more than anything was not only a thorough investigation, but the evidence that we recovered at the scene and DNA. Otherwise, we would have never had it. But again, that's from people that are dedicated and good. And you know what I mean? You're as good as what surrounds you. We're all part of it. We were all there, but everybody worked as a team and worked hard. And when you get that results, that's what our job is supposed to be. We don't get all good results.
Right.
I would love to be able to tell people that, because I'm in this position or because we got a great department, that I'm going to eliminate drugs, or I'm going to, nobody will ever break in your house, or this crime will never happen to you. If somebody tells you that, they're not telling you the truth. What I'd like to tell them is we work hard and we have reduced, and anything that we have found that we completed, we got them bad people completely off the street forever.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to focus on. There's a lot of things that, and then there's sometimes where we get to the bottom of a case and we get people angry at us because it didn't go their way. So they don't like it. They might even been the ones that called us.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You hear that saying all the time. We focus on the evidence at hand. We have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's what we go on. And if it ends up to be you or somebody that you know real well, it still goes forward. So we don't make everybody happy. And what I am going to say though is you work hard and you reap some benefits, but in this particular job, you make some people unhappy. Even going back to the budget, Bob, we talked about the budget. I don't have a magic wand. I can only do so. There's requirements that are required of me that I try to do and stay within the limitations of what they give me. It's very difficult because there's things I don't control.
Yeah.
But I am going to tell you, I'm proud of the fact that I balance the budget all the time. Sometimes it involves layout. I don't want to do that because we need more. If you did a survey, they would probably, in this county, they'd say number one is safety.
Right.
And I understand that, but there's sometimes you got to make them decisions based on what's required of you under the law, and they're tough decisions.
Well, I was just thinking about the Martin Chuck. This was an elderly woman, and from what I understand, the two weren't really linked. The man and the woman. This isn't like let's start looking at all of the relatives and the people that we know have visited. And
we did.
We're going.
We did.
But that really didn't.
But it was drug related.
Right.
And it was opportunity because they were there. And
what was this? Was a guy? Was he like a?
He worked and delivered, and he spotted something, and he was really hooked on drugs and needed money. I don't believe that there was any intent to go in there and murder her, but I think that it turned sour because he wanted to get in and get out, and I believe that she was a feisty elderly lady, and it cost her life.
Jeez.
I mean, it's just that you've heard the saying wrong place at the wrong time, and in this particular case that happened.
But the wrong place was her own home.
You're right. Yes,
Jeez.
You don't expect that.
Yeah.
And certainly you don't. And that's why I said how the world has changed because of drugs. If you think that something like that could not happen to you, you're making a mistake. I'm not saying it will, but you need to be alert and know and move with society because, let's face it, it's been a long time since I've been in high school, probably you too.
Yeah.
Maybe me a lot longer, but what I am saying is, even school, everything has changed. When I went to school and I did something wrong and got a whack from the teacher, I never went home and told my parents because I got another whack.
Yeah.
Today, the teachers are even, their hands are
so
tied.
what did you do to my kid?
That's right. The whole structure has changed. If you don't change with it, you're in court. You're in trouble. So I do think that is a big part of society today. I'm not saying we're moving in a great direction because we're not.
But with the use of the detectives and the technology and being able to look at DNA.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe
it's changed.
Maybe that guy that killed that elderly woman left and said, I did a terrible thing, but nobody's there to connect me with it, and I'll probably get away with it. And that's not going to happen.
Again, that's some of the things that have changed in society. We're able to get that. You got to be trained in order to get that evidence, to get it right, don't contaminate it, and get some kind of a match. Because we swap people when they come in, and that's basically how we do it. But you have to get the evidence right. You don't want that suppressed. You get that particular evidence, and then you get a match. It's pretty difficult to say that it wasn't me when maybe DNA's under the fingernails of somebody that doesn't live there. That helps, and it's solved a lot of cases throughout the world. But that's another good case of how law enforcement has changed.
Yeah. And I don't know, the girl from Warren whose bones were found in the fire pit, would she have been identified without the DNA?
No, that again, it sounds like I am bragging about the department. We did a great job on that. We're working on that daily still today, and that's very large, and it's going to be a lot larger than what people would even imagine. But no, that wouldn't have been. But it took good police work in gathering that particular stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking about after hearing about that is you really have to be trained as to know how to go about this, guys. Wasn't there some wooded areas and stuff around the house? So you have to know what take it slow and know what you're doing.
There was probable cause to get into people's property, and there was, and it led to something else.
But you didn't expect that.
No, not at all.
He was just a druggie.
No. I mean, people ask us all the time, well, what do you think? This is one of the unusual things. Am I shocked by it? No, not really. But do we have a lot of them? No, we have not. But we have our homicides, and we have our rapes, and we have our domestic violences, and we have that through the course of a year. And it's not lessening. I think it has increased. I think it's increased throughout the world. I don't think our county is unique. It's unique because we're so big and so limited, but I think every county has their drug problems because that's the way the society has changed somewhat, and the drug problems result in a lot of crimes that we weren't getting prior 10 years ago. You know what I mean? And when you go clear back, we'll take marijuana. Marijuana was in the Woodstock years.
Sure.
And if they were on marijuana, that was a big deal. And maybe LSD was involved in that, but we talked about that. Now, marijuana is the lower part of the drug usage. You know what I mean? There's so much, Percocet and Oxycontin, and heroin's making a comeback. Cocaine is even somewhat the thing of the past, even though we still have it. Meth, people making meth. If you'd see the ingredients that people are putting in their body with the meth, well, you could see it by their facial, their teeth rot and everything.
Yeah, the changes.
There's even Drano in that. Put Drano in your sink, see what it does to you. I don't, for the life of me, it is something that it's hard for somebody that doesn't do drugs and sees it every day, hard to understand and comprehend why somebody would even do that even the first time, if they take a look of what it does to you.
Yeah, there's all kinds of websites that show what people look like, and sometimes
we have them.
Yeah.
We have them, beauty queens that they look like they're 80 years old, and teeth are rotten, and scabs all over them. But irregardless, if you just look at the ingredients of Drano and battery acid and stuff like that, what it actually can do before you even use it one time, that would be should be enough to scare you. There are people that do it.
Now, some people get hooked because they were in an accident or they had some kind of
That's true.
And they start taking doctor-prescribed narcotics or something.
And then they start doctor shopping, and that's true, but I am going to tell you that's also, in a lot of cases, a cop-out. You know what I mean? They start with a drug, and then, of course, they break into houses, and then they start getting more. But, opiates they're a problem. Usually when people break in your house, if they ever break in your house, first place they go is your medicine chest.
Really?
Then they go to your jewelry box. Them are small things that they can put in their pocket and get a lot of money. An Oxycontin, the 80 milligram, about $100 a pill. A pill that somebody will pay you for.
Yeah.
So, and that creates a problem. And the people that really do need it when they're in a hospital, they can get addicted to it. Because it does disguise the pain and get you through the day. you just hope that you don't do that. But if you read about it before you even do a major surgery, you understand that you can, so you maybe tolerate a little bit more pain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before you do it, because you don't want to get addicted to it.
Yeah, I remember hurting my back. I was given some drugs, and I took one, and I kind of hallucinated all night. I said, I don't want to take any more.
I've had some surgeries knee surgeries and stuff, where they gave me some OxyContin. What I didn't like about it more than anything was it made me tired. All I wanted to do was sleep.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Yeah.
I just didn't take it. I just tolerated the pain a little bit more.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there is a purpose for that. When you have a major surgery, it's really, there is a purpose for people that are on hospice.
Right.
They're dying, they're
Right.
terminal. You try to prohibit as much pain and make them as comfortable as they can before they pass. We're all going to die. I believe in hospice. I believe in that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But when people are doing illegal drugs because they just want to get high or break in and steal from you to get the money to do that, that's what creates a problem.
We'll return, and I want to talk a little bit about problems with domestic violence.
Okay.
And I also wanted to talk about the whole concealed carry and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And I know I've kind of been struck lately by some of the domestic violence stuff. And I've mentioned this before, but I was at the thing that they had in the park in downtown Ashtabula. We got a phone call. Let's see. Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, I just came in and got it tuned in and everything.
Uh-huh.
But I might have missed this, but with the heroin epidemic that we've got here, Sheriff Johnson, how do we stop it? I mean, how do we, how come the Sheriff's Association, really the American people, how come they are not demanding from our federal officials to stop the heroin from coming across the border? How come? Because there's tons and tons of it. A few tons get picked up here and there. They confiscate. But there's tons and tons of it coming across the border. And like even in Afghanistan, we help them burn. We burn down their fields, and then we turn around and help them grow them back up again.
Okay.
How are we going to stop that?
Okay, we'll have him talk. Answer your question.
Well, first and foremost, the Sheriff's Department, along with all the agencies, are trying to combat all illegal drug use. Heroin has seemed to be the drug of trade right now. I am going to tell you, we do, as a department, we're doing a lot of undercover work. In fact, as you see, we've made a lot of drug bust, heroin bust. We're even talking about the homicide that's in Romaine Shores right now. There's some heroin buys there. We are trying to, I would love to tell you we're going to eliminate it. We're trying to get it reduced. We try to get every possible grant that we can to try to combat it even more. We work well with not only the FBI, but the Marshals Service and ATF and TAG. So we are making somewhat of an impact. Unfortunately, getting it to come across the borders and all that, it starts from the federal guidelines of these people getting through, and I'm not so sure that we've done the United States has done a great job with that, but I am going to tell you that our goal is try to reduce it. I'd like to eliminate it, but we're trying to get the big dealers completely out of this particular area the best we can.
Okay. Can't do everything.
No, I mean, like I said, we're talking about heroin, but we still have the meth, and
right.
We still have the, the prescription drugs and stuff. Drug activity is huge, but it's not just this county. It's not just the state of Ohio. It's all over the world. And that's one of the big reasons why I said that I'm against the marijuana. I think it's a gateway. It just adds to it.
So I want to get back, though, to the domestic violence thing, because I mentioned this before, but I was at the memorial service they had for the woman who was stabbed to death by her husband, McKendry,
Yes.
Debbie
Yes.
McKendry.
Yes.
And what struck me at the time, the family up there, they're crying, they're talking about, know the signs of domestic abuse
Right.
and stuff. At the same time that was happening, Mandy, was it Gottschalk?
Yes.
Was being murdered by her boyfriend for
Yes.
talking to a guy in a bar.
Yes.
And
We actually are on that case 100%. We certainly got somebody in, well, both of them are in
Right.
jail, pending trials. Domestic violence, we get a lot of domestic violences. Usually they're verbal, some are physical. It's a very fine line. It's real easy to get arrested on domestic violence, but you have to have the call.
right.
And then you have to, the whatever spouse it might be, whatever boyfriend and girlfriend it might be, after we do what we have to do and bring them through the system, they have to actually help themselves and stay away from these people. But in a lot of cases, they go back to these people, and they, because they think it's a one-time deal, it won't happen. Something escalates. Maybe they drink alcohol or they're on some kind of drugs, and then things happen like this. But the domestic violence law has changed so much that they can be arrested just by a threat once they call us, and we do that often.
And you don't drop the case because the one that was assaulted
Doesn't want to charge. No, usually the prosecutor's office here will charge that particular person.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. They don't. We don't do that. We do our job. The law requires us to do that. Sometimes we separate them if there's no signs of physical abuse, keep them away, and then they'll file charges. But if there's signs of physical abuse, they go to jail, they go to court right away. First offense and conviction is a 4th degree misdemeanor. I think it's 4th, and the second offense is a felony. But you'd be surprised how many people that think that it was only a one-time deal, or they'll never do it again.
That doesn't happen.
And it doesn't happen.
Right.
Normally speaking, if there's physical abuse, either by the female or by the male, it's not a one-time deal, it'll happen again. But they're adults, they can make that decision. They have avenues to go to, not only home safe, they have avenues to make sure that doesn't happen again. They have civil protection orders, restraining orders. They have avenues to keep them people away from them, but they have to stay away as well.
So one of the things that they had for home safe, some at Kent State Walk Against Violence. County Prosecutor Nick Hiroji's talking about walking by Eastern County Court on a Monday morning, and all of the girls and the guys, and they're kind of hanging on each other and stuff. On Saturday night, they were beating each other up.
They bond them up.
And then they're in love by Monday morning.
Sure. We've arrested some where the spouse, one or the other, male or female, will come and try to bond them up the same night.
Yeah.
But again, there's laws, we go by them, and there's procedures. And an adult has a right to make their decision. It's just like if an ambulance comes and you're really bad and you say, I don't want to go to the hospital, or you go in the hospital, they bring you there and you check yourself out and you're an adult, I can't keep you there.
Right.
So decisions are important, but support is as well, but you got to want to support. It's like getting off of drugs.
Right.
You can't get off of drugs if you're drug addicted by yourself. You have to watch who you hang around with, and you have to have a support group. It keeps you from them particular people. Otherwise, you start all over again. It's the same way with alcohol.
The other thing I want to talk about a little bit was guns, the big thing about maybe more restrictions on guns and stuff.
You know, certainly they're looking at the automatic weapons and stuff like that. Listen, there's a CCW law. It's part of my requirements. I've given out thousands of CCWs, and I don't have a problem with that. Whether I believe it or I don't really makes no difference. I have to abide by the laws in the Constitution. That's what it says they're allowed to do that. Now, in saying that, if you ask me that, did I give some license to people that I really didn't want to? The answer to that would be yes. And here's the reason why. They followed the criteria. They met the criteria. I'm obligated by law to give it to them. But we've been to their houses several times, and they're right at that line. They're right at that fine line. Now, so if I had my choice, I would say, no, you got to prove to me we're not going to come to your house anymore. But I don't have that. So all I'm trying to say is there are people that probably should even consider doing it. Now, am I surprised by not having, I'm going to say out of thousands, we might have 50 that we've rescinded them because it's a domestic violence or something else, because there's requirements. And really there hasn't been that many problems. So that was surprising. Don't forget, it's been several years now, but that law was new, and no sheriff knew if it was going to be good or bad. But we've been pretty good.
Is there a record if you stopped if a patrolman or a sheriff's officer, deputy stopped a car for whatever, speeding or whatever it might be, and they do a check, can they know if the person that owns that car has a concealed weapon and maybe take more precautions than normal?
Well, first of all, the officer should always take precautions anyway.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But yeah, the registration usually comes up that they have a CCW. If the person is in there that is carrying, if they abide by the schooling that they did, we're going to know right off the get-go that once they announce it, then we're good to go. Just keep your hands up.
Right.
Don't make any crazy things. Just tell the officer everything is fine. We haven't had much problem with that. But usually if you have a CCW and you have a driver's license, car's in your name, I run your register, it'll tell us that you have a CCW.
Right now,
whether you're carrying it or not.
I think it's Texas that you can carry a gun now on college campuses, and
well,
is that
the law in Ohio? You could walk down Main Street and look like Wyatt Earp as long as it's not concealed, and there's no law against it.
okay?
It's like a hunter.
They're talking about passing when they allow them in bars, which I would think would be a little bit.
They were trying that. I think it failed. It hasn't come back yet. And most people, like post offices, justice centers, hospitals, and they have a big sign in there.
Right.
Even if you have a license, no carry conceal.
Right.
I think there was a police officer, which I didn't understand, in Ohio that got kicked out of a restaurant. Can't remember. One of the restaurants anyway, because he went in uniform with a gun on.
Huh.
And they asked him to leave. That was just recently. I don't understand that, because that's our job, and
I thought restaurants liked having.
Well, this one
deputies in
didn't.
there. Yeah.
This one didn't for some reason. Maybe management didn't want anybody to carry it, but anyway, that's what happened. He left. I think it was an Olive Garden, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's bizarre.
Again, like I said, the world as we knew it is different.
Right.
And you have to go with the flow. If you don't, it'll run you over.
Right.
You'll always be way behind the 8 ball.
Do you have to turn it off when you go home?
It's hard to turn it off in my job because I get called all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody basically pretty much knows my cell phone, but the office, if it, like I said, in the middle of the night, most nights I get called, they make you aware of something, whether we have a meth lab or an arrest on somebody or a knifing, a domestic, they call me, let me know. Because you guys, the press, are calling me at 3 in the morning, Sheriff, what happened on this particular thing? So, yeah.
I don't know if I've done it at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, they keep me pretty much posted on what is going on, so at least I can answer. A lot of times we don't give you much.
Right.
And the reason why is because the investigation is ongoing.
Right.
But between...
It's nice to have something.
Between Facebook and Twitter, and especially Facebook, that story, when it happened, will be twisted 17 different ways, and then they'll call me, and I'll say, you know what I mean? There's no truth to any of this. So.
This unfortunate incident where the guy ran over his girlfriend.
I bet. I can imagine.
And it was it was an accident as far as what we know.
Right.
And the guy himself called the police. But if you looked at some of the stuff on Facebook, the guy
He was running down the road nude. I read all that.
Yeah, he took off and everything else.
I guess the thing of it is that's the problem. But guess what? I don't have Facebook. People tell me, but I don't have Facebook. I'm not going to respond to Facebook. Most of the stuff there is not correct.
Right.
And I mean, I've had the press call me. I read on Facebook. Quit reading Facebook. Ask me first, but don't tell me this is why you're calling me, because I'm not going to respond to what quote is on Facebook. Usually them people are getting it 5th, 6th, 7th hand,
Right.
and it's multiplied by thousands.
Somebody who lives in the area,
You're
was
exactly
in the
right.
area.
You're exactly right, and it's not worthy of a response
Right.
at that particular time.
Okay. Well, we covered some ground today.
Yeah.
Oh, we got one more. We're close to commercial time. Let's see. Hello, you're on the air.
This is Mr. Sharp. I heard you talking about marijuana.
Yes.
Is that possible to put it into candy?
Do you have any recipes?
I suppose it could, but I'm going to tell you now that Halloween's coming up.
Yeah.
They are saying that be careful where you allow your kids to go, because there will be people that will taint candy, whether it's marijuana or something else.
Yeah, I heard that shouldn't
Right.
be on the news. Of course, I'm talking, but it shouldn't have been on the news if people are saying that it possibly can be in candy.
Right. I think if you
Terrible.
take your kids to places that you know instead of
Yeah.
streets that you don't know, you're
Not wrapped
certainly
up
Right,
in
better
a
off.
if there's
Wait.
homemade candy, be suspicious, but most of it's like Tootsie Rolls or whatever.
Right.
Terrible. That accident happened right across from my house, but I didn't see or hear anything.
Oh.
Terrible, terrible,
Yeah.
terrible thing.
Yeah.
Nice young lady, just terrible. And she had a little baby also.
Oh,
Terrible.
yeah.
It is tragic.
But
All
the
right.
police, they really investigated. They did a good job. They were there about 5 hours.
Yeah, I know that
Very good.
they call BCIN.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. We gotta get one more break in right about now, so thanks for coming in.
Okay, you're
All
welcome.
right, we'll
All right.
have to do it again.
All right, sure, anytime.